to the kingdom, what we gon' say? How about a bed, there's no work today. When we get to the kingdom, what we gon' do? I'ma dance like...
Righty, all right. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. I'm Officer Noah, and today's class is Unteaching the Unlearned, the Covenant. So before we get into the title, I want to just quickly go through this introduction, this spiritual stretch. Start off with John 7:38.
This is the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scriptures hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
So if you believe on this Bible as Christ has said it, you're going to have a wealth of understanding. Hebrews 10:7. I had to look at the words because, you know, black people add S's on everything. So when I look at these books, I got to look at the book and make sure I'm reading it right. Go ahead, Hebrews 10:7.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7. Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book, it is written of me to do thy will, O God.
He said, I have been written in the chapters of this Bible to do thy will. And within this class, we're going to define a will. Go to Isaiah 28:9. So Christ said, I've been written in this Bible, in the volumes of the book, in the chapters and the verses of the book, to tell you how to do the will, what the will is of God. Isaiah 28:9.
Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine?
And that's the question that we got to ask ourselves in reading this Bible. Who is he going to teach the will of God? Who's going to be able to understand the doctrines of keeping this will? Read on.
Them that are weaned from the milk
Those that are keeping the laws. Read.
and drawn from the breast.
Being raised up, being grown in this truth by the keepings of the law. Verse 10.
For precept must be upon precept. Precept upon precept. Line upon line, line upon line. Here a little and there a little.
Read on.
For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people.
So this Bible is written like a puzzle. It's that you can read it straight through and you're going to get the history, you're going to get that understanding, but you have to put certain things, certain precepts, I'll say it like that, or certain laws with other laws, because it'll tell you how to keep the Sabbath in one place, but you got to go to another place to see other parts of keeping the Sabbath. And what are the other Sabbaths? It's not all explained in one place. And he said, with stammering lips, in dark sayings, in parables will these things be explained to us in certain other parts of the Bible. Jump to verse 13.
Verse 13. But the word of the Lord was unto them, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken.
So this line right here is talking about the world. The world has this same Bible. They read it precept upon precept, line upon line, the exact same thing. But what's happening is they can't get the understanding. What they read makes them go backwards. It makes them fail at understanding what the will of God is. They just think it is being a good, nice person, being a good citizen, when that's true, but there's more things to it. There's more. Thou shalt not hate thyself, not hate thyself. Thou shalt not hate thy neighbor is something different than what the world, what we understand in the Bible versus what the world understands. They just think that you can't talk bad or cuss at somebody. No, I can't commit sin against you. That's what it means to love thy neighbor or not hate your neighbor. Verse 15.
Verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves.
And that's where the world is. They've hid themselves in these lies that they understand the Bible and they don't. And they try to act out certain parts of the Bible and they're failing at it and then say, the world has shown me to be like this and do this, so we're going to succeed this way. Look at all the success and money and power that I've held in my life. Nothing's going to go wrong with me. It's you. Verse 18.
Verse 18. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then ye shall be trodden down by it.
So when the rest of this Bible starts to open up and be fulfilled, these are the times that the people are going to see, like, we didn't really serve God. We served Satan. We were of the devil, and they're going to try for repentance, and it's going to be too late. 2 Ezra 14:34.
Second
Ezra 14 and 34.
2 Ezra chapter 14 and verse 34. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding.
That's the advice that we have to take. If you would subdue your own change, stop your understanding, and submit to what the Bible is telling you, read.
And reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy.
So if you would change the way that you've been taught and just subdue yourself under the laws of God, it's going to change your way of life, and you're going to actually have life. You're going to get eternal life, because that's what we're all striving for. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2. This is another way of thinking when you're trying to understand the Bible. Because as babies, as children, you can tell a kid anything and they'll believe you. They'll question you with what they see, but if you tell them like, no, this isn't what you think you see, it's this, they're going to believe that for the rest of your life. So on a righteous way of thinking, you have to subdue yourself like you're a child yourself. And whatever this Bible tells you, that's your mode of thinking. That's how you say, okay, I thought it was this, but the Bible is telling me it's supposed to be like this. So that's what I'm going to do. Read this.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word.
That's the law. Read.
That ye may grow thereby.
So you can grow and mature spiritually. Read. That was it. My bad. Sirach 39 and 1. And once you grow in this understanding and you mature spiritually, then this is the next thing that you have to be or do. Read.
Sirach chapter 39 and verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies.
This is what you're going to start buying your time with, is the understanding of this Bible, how to improve, how to understand what we went through in the past and how it is affecting us in the present, and what we need to do to fix our future. So, read on. Go ahead.
He will keep the sayings of renowned men. And where subtle parables are, he will be there also.
Read.
He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences.
That's what it was talking about in Isaiah 28. Read.
And be conversant in dark parables.
Read.
He shall serve among great men and appear before princes.
This is where you're going to get your power and respect from, is your wisdom and understanding in the scripture. It ain't getting your doctor's degree. Not saying that you can't have those things, but look at these people and where they're at. Still miserable, rich and miserable. They have all this success and wealth, and they're still as nobodies. But when you start learning this Bible, people look at you differently. They treat you differently. You become a different person understanding this wisdom versus the wisdom of the world. Read.
He will travel through strange countries, for he hath tried the good and the evil among men.
Read.
He will give his heart to resort to the Lord early that made him, and will pray before the Most High, and will open his mouth in prayer and make supplication for his sins.
His repentance. He's going to repent. When he's going to be able to understand, he or she is going to be able to understand, like, now I see where I'm going wrong. Let me change this. Pray to my God that he forgive me of my ignorance, of my sins that I do willfully or ignorantly, and change them so I can grow and he continue to bless me and further me. Proverbs 19:8.
Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 8.
And you was already there.
He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul.
So if you get this wisdom, you love your own soul. Read.
He that getteth understanding shall find good.
That's going to be your success. Go to chapter 15, verse 32.
Proverbs chapter 15, verse 32. He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul.
Just think about a person, you tell them that, hey, don't touch the fire, it's hot. And they do it anyway. That's self-harm, right? The Bible is saying the exact same thing about you not wanting to keep the laws. The laws are here to protect you and to improve your way of life and you all together as a being and the people around you. You saying that I don't want to help myself, that's hatred to you. That's hatred to your own nation. You hate being self-developed. That's what you're saying. Read it again.
He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul.
Because you're going to be killed by God. That's the end result. Read.
But he that heareth reproof getteth understanding.
You're going to be added unto. Most High is going to increase your wisdom and your knowledge and your skill set to better you in the world that you're living in until Christ comes. So from there, I want the definition of covenant. And get me in the Bible, 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. So the first thing that I want to start off with is pretty much debunking science. And the part of science that I want to debunk or push to the side is the fact that you have to go to like Ancestry.com and do this DNA swab to check your background, your lineage and history to say, oh, I'm 2 parts African and 3 parts European and Scandinavian. That's fake and false science. And the Bible tells us to be careful and avoid those things. So 1 Timothy 6 and 20.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called.
And that's what your Ancestry.com is. That's what these swabs are. It's oppositions of science, falsely so called. And he told to stay away from it, avoid it. Read.
Which some professing have erred concerning the faith.
They're in sin concerning the faith. You don't believe what's written in the Bible of who you are, where you come from. You'll say that you're this type of African from this tribe, and then when we tell you, yeah, you may have come from that location from slavery, but the Bible has already documented that you were going to be moved from Africa to America and be called an African American or a byword, and you disannul that and take this science, which is new to us, and go headlong into well, I won't even say that, because I don't see you putting bones in your nose or plates in your lips to really claim that heritage. You putting in the eyelashes, and hip hop is your culture. You are not going backwards to cows peeing on your head. You're not doing that. So you don't really believe in the science that you say that you believe in. That's why black people are foolish and then claim a zodiac sign. Which is it? Which science are you going to be a part of? We are a special type of people. Read verse 21 again.
Verse 21. Which some professing have erred concerning the faith.
You don't believe the Bible. That's what it's saying. Read. You don't believe in God. Read.
Grace be with thee, Amen.
From there, 2nd Ezra 6:53, and read this definition of covenant first.
Dictionary.com, covenant. An agreement, usually formal, between two or more persons to do or not to do something specified.
That sounds like that's the Bible. Read the second one.
2. Law, an incidental clause in such an agreement.
This is what the Bible is. It's law. It's the book of the law. And it has clauses in it on what to do if you do it. And if you don't do it, these things are going to happen, or you're going to receive these things once you do this or don't do this. That's the covenants between us and God, and we're going to read it in the scriptures. Read 3.
3. Ecclesiastical, a solemn agreement between the members of a church to act together in harmony with the precepts of the gospel.
That's the Bible. Scroll down. 8 through 10.
Verb, used without object. 8. To enter into a covenant. Verb used with object. Number 9. To promise by covenant, pledge. 10. To stipulate.
Scroll down. Let me see if there's more. Yeah, that's it. Now give me testament. Go ahead.
Dictionary.com, testament. 1. A law. Law. A will.
So it's a will. We read this. Christ said, I come in the volume of the book to do thy will. Let's see what this testament or will is.
A will, especially one that relates to the disposition of one's personal property.
All right. We've seen this. We're going to see this in the Bible that it deals with property as well. Go ahead.
Either of the two major portions of the Bible, the Mosaic or Old Covenant, or the dispensation, or the Christian or New Covenant or dispensation. Initial capital letter, the New Testament as distinct from the Old Testament. 4. A copy of the New Testament. 5. A covenant, especially between God and humans.
And we need to specify within this class the covenant between God and which humans. Is it all humans? Is it a specific set of humans? Is it people that come into this agreement by choice or option? We have to define this part of the covenant. So from there, 2 Ezra 6 and 54. So keep these words in your notes. Testament, covenant, will, promise, agreement, treaty even. These are synonyms of the same meaning of what the Bible is explaining to us, that we are in an agreement with God, and is going to expound on the things and terms that come with these agreements and covenants and testaments. Go ahead.
2 Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all.
Everybody on the face of the earth, your father is Adam. You come from Adam. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. This is the father of everybody that's living to this date. Read.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
But God chose people out of this for a specific reason. Read.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing.
So in this is saying that God chose a specific people and the other people are nothing to him. So not all of Adam's children are on the same equal planes with God. And we got to understand this with understanding the covenant that the Israelites hold. Read.
But be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
So let's jump into Genesis 6 and 5. Let's see the understanding of him not liking them, not caring about them. They just a drop in a bucket or out the bucket. Genesis 6 and 5.
Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
These are the times that we're seeing today, that everything is out of course, out of whack, and people are evil. Read.
And it repented the Lord that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air. For it repenteth me that I have made them.
Read.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
So now we have a man that God says, this is my guy. I like this guy. He's doing what I want him to do. I'm going to be with this man here on earth. Everybody else getting destroyed. Read.
Not verse 9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations.
Meaning he kept the commandments. Read.
And Noah walked with God.
And
Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Read.
The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence.
Go ahead.
And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark.
Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. But with thee will I establish my covenant.
So he's still talking to Noah. And he mentioned that he had sons as well. So with Noah, he said, I'm going to establish a covenant with you. Because you found grace, you're a just and perfect man in my sight. So my covenant, my agreement is going to be with you, and this is what I need you to do for me. And that's build an ark. Read.
And thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee.
So because I found grace or favor in you, your family is going to be saved from the destruction that I'm bringing on the earth. Verse, you in 22, read 22.
Yes, sir. Verse 22. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he.
Jump to chapter 9, verse 7.
Genesis chapter 9 and verse 7. And you, be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah, and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you.
So now we have understanding that, because Noah's going to eventually die, and this covenant or this agreement or this will is going to be passed down from generation to generation. So he's saying your seed after you. But Noah has 3 sons, and that's important. Is he going to pass all of this down to the 3 sons, 2 sons, or one of the sons? What are these kids going to get after him? We have to make that known who's going to get this covenant. Verse 13.
Verse 13.
And give me that picture of the rainbow that I sent.
Genesis chapter 9 and verse 13. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token for a covenant between me and the earth.
So we're looking at a rainbow in the sky. This is not a covenant to where it says, you know, I can be free and marry a man if I'm a man, or a woman if I'm a woman, or I can turn into a woman and then marry a man. And this is the symbol of our freedom as people on the earth. That's not the covenant that was made. It's a rainbow that I'm actually not seeing on the screen. Read that again.
Genesis chapter 9 and verse 13. I do set my bow in the cloud.
So when God set this rainbow, he didn't set it for us to act out and say this is our speech, to say that we can have gay pride. That's not what this bow is. It's a covenant between the earth, because he just flooded the entire earth, destroyed beasts, animals, everything except for Noah and his family and sets of animals, and 2 sets of the unclean and 7 sets of the clean. Everything else was destroyed. And this is a covenant or a promise saying that I'm not going to flood the earth again. Read on.
And it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
So this is a covenant between the earth. Read.
Verse 14. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud. And I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of flesh that is upon the earth.
So this is where the world comes in. This is for, and it's for our sakes. Don't get it twisted. It's for the Israelites' sake that y'all not getting drowned. But this is where the world comes into play, to where you have a covenant with God that he's not going to destroy the world and everything in it by water. Read.
Verse
17.
And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan.
Read on.
These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread.
So now up until this point, we are all the sons of Adam. We are all the sons of Noah. And these are 3 different nations of sons that came out of Noah. Read 26, verse 26.
Verse 26. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem.
So now this covenant is being passed to Shem. God is the God of Shem, not Ham, not Japheth. Out of those 2 nations, they don't have a God. That is, of all the sons of Adam, he has a chosen, and he has people that he don't care about. Ham and Japheth, who still exist to this day, God don't care about them. He's the God of the Shemitic people at this point in time. Read.
And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant.
And Ham's son, he's going to be a servant. Read. He's going to be a slave. Read. That's his portion.
God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. And Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
So Japheth, Ham, and Canaan, those are servants to Shem. And God's covenant is now with Shem. So from father to son, now we're starting to see that he said that through your seed, I'm going to keep the covenant. So from Adam to Noah to Shem. Then there's names in between that, and that you would have to read that within the within Genesis on how this bloodline is going down. From there, Genesis 10 and 1.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal. And
Jump to verse 5.
Verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families in their nation.
Service, I'm going to give you a land, and I'm going to make you a great, plentiful people. These are the terms, agreements within this testament or covenant that's being passed down from generation to generation. And it's only going to a select few. The others, y'all not getting this. Y'all will have some things, but y'all not getting this type of treatment. And this is what God is telling them. Read.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore. Thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
So within this covenant now is circumcision. So we had the rainbow with Noah, and then he told Noah that I'm your God, I'm Shem's God, and I'm not going to flood the earth again. You're going to be multiplied, and I'm going to keep this covenant between me and you. It's escalating on what we know is being given to us as a people. Our inheritance is what we're getting, and it's being explained to us bit by bit, precept upon precept, line upon line, what we're getting out of the deal of serving God. And with this, you're going to know I'm your God by this circumcision. All the Shemitic people after Abraham, you're going to keep this circumcision. Read.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
So with this, he's saying every man is going to do this from 8 days old and up. So that eliminates Ham, because they be circumcising women. They don't keep the custom correct. So we can understand through history and culture that you don't fit this covenant. God ain't with you. And we have to express that directly so people get it. This is so specific on how you're to keep this covenant, this agreement, how you're going to know that this agreement is between me and you by how you're doing it. Read.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you.
Not women. Read.
Every man child in your generations, he that is born in your house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised.
Jump to 18.
Verse 18. And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee.
So Abraham had two sons. At this point, he had a son by Hagar, the bondwoman. Ishmael's going to be all right. He going to be good. He's going to live. That's what God is saying. Read on.
And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son.
But he told Abraham that your wife, like I told you, she's going to give birth to a son. I got you. She's going to give birth to this son. Read.
And thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him.
So another nation was born before our forefather, and he good, he going to be all right. He not my chosen. My covenant ain't going to be with him. It's going to be with Isaac, who is not born at this time yet. He's telling them, the seed that I chose already is Isaac, not Ishmael, not this son of yours. Read.
And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
God is assuring Abraham, I've already mapped this plan out. You don't even have to worry about it. Just do as I say, and what I say is going to happen. Isaac and his son is going to have this covenant. I'm going to establish it with him. Don't tell me how to do my job. I'm telling you how you're going to do your job. That's how it works with God. There's no good idea that we're going to have above God. We just got to listen and follow and do what we're explained to do as it's given to us. Verse 20.
And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold.
I have grace on you. So you know what? This is what I'm going to do for Ishmael. Let's spell it out for you.
Behold, I have blessed him.
So here's his blessing. This is the agreement that I have or gift that I have for Ishmael. Read.
And will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly.
So Japheth, Ham, they got this same thing. Be fruitful and multiply. Read.
12 princes shall he beget.
And not only that, you're going to have kids, and they're going to be 12 princes upon the earth. Read.
And I will make him a great nation.
There you go. Being a great nation means that you're going to have a country, you're going to be rich, you're going to be well taken care of as far as your status on earth. Read.
But my covenant will I establish with Isaac.
But I'm the God of Isaac, not Ishmael. Read.
which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
Read.
And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham.
And this is how you know God is a black man. I said what I said, and what I said is going to happen. Don't bother me. I'm done talking. Leave me alone. You know when your parents like, listen, I told you what I want you to do. Get out of my face. That's how God talked to us. That's a black man. Make me repeat myself to you again. And I'll give you a little bit more. At this set time, this year, it's going to happen. Don't do nothing else. Get out of my face. That's a black dad. That's a black parent. Genesis 22:8.
Genesis chapter 22 and verse 8. And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering.
So at this point in time, he has had his son Isaac by Sarah, and God told him to sacrifice Isaac. Read.
So they went, both of them together, and they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me.
Most High trying to tell us something. He was trying to tell us something, and he put Abraham through the test to show us what he's about to show us in later days. And Abraham passed. His faith is strong. He's a willing person to keep this covenant that is going to be set with him. Read.
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering.
Jump to 25:5.
25:5.
Yes, sir.
Genesis chapter 25 and verse 5. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac.
So now it's time for Abraham to pass his promises down to Isaac, and that's what happened. This is something else that we have to get in mind too. This is from father. He's passing on an heritage. We as men with families, we have to have that same mind frame to pass down something to our kids in the world that we're living in today. Because this is exactly what our foreparents did. Their possessions, the things that they had, they passed it down to their sons so they can prosper and be ahead. We have to be like that. Read.
But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had.
So on this chart here, you have Abraham and all of his two wives and his concubine. You had Ishmael and the 6 sons of Keturah. It's going into what he gave them, the relationship that was passed down from them as far as what they get. And everybody got something, but there's a great distinction between everybody else and Isaac. And this is important for us to know. Read verse 6.
But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from his son, from Isaac his son.
So everybody got gifts. Like you get this, you get that, you get this, but stay away from my son Isaac. He's different from y'all. I want all y'all to know this is my chosen son from God. Let's boast this and get this understanding. Don't touch this son. God is with this son. Y'all get it? Here's your gifts. Go on about your business. Read.
And sent them away from his son, from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward.
Y'all go that way. Read.
Unto the east country.
Verse 19.
And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife.
Jump down to 22.
Verse 22. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord.
So now Isaac has a wife, and she's pregnant with twins. Read.
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb.
It didn't so much specify it when we were with Noah. It didn't specify that these were 2 different nations until we got to the other chapter and said, these are the isles of the Gentiles. It's saying other nations. Read. But here in Genesis, it's flat out saying these are 2 different nations that's about to come from this son. So from Noah, he had nations come out of him. From Eber, he had nations come out of him. From Abraham, he had what? 1, 7, 8 nations come out of him. So 2 nations is going to come out of his son. Read.
2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Y'all know I'm black. I suck at math. Throw that out there all the way. Read.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people.
It's giving characteristics of these 2 nations that are within her womb, how they'll behave when they come out. Read.
And the elder shall serve the younger.
So the one that comes out first, he's going to be the slave. He's not going to be the chosen of God. Read.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
This would be the Caucasian race. They came out first, so this first son will be the slave. Read.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. And
this would be the Native Americans, the Hispanics, the blacks, the African Americans, so-called. This is our forefather. Read.
And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old, when she bare him.
That's 60. Read on.
27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter.
So it's giving you more characteristics. This is how we know that this is the Caucasian race, because they're the only ones I know that hunt elephants, giraffes, and people for sport. Read.
And Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents.
Jacob just be chilling. he cool like that. That's how we are today. We just, whatever it is, that's what it is. 28.
And Isaac loved Esau, but he did eat of his venison. But Rebekah loved Jacob.
Because she understood the covenant, who it was going to be passed down to. Genesis 35 and 9.
Genesis chapter 35 and verse 9. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padan Aram, and blessed him. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel.
So our forefather's name was Jacob, and God changed it to Israel. Read on.
And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply.
He's giving him the same things as he told our foreparents before him, from Noah, Abraham, Noah, Shem, down to Abraham, Isaac, now Jacob, who is Israel. Read.
A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins.
He put an extra. Now the kids that's going to come out of you, these are going to be the kings. I'm going to be with these kids. Read.
And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac to thee, I will give it.
So,
and to thy...
Me being your God, your people being, your children being great, and the land, it's all yours. Everything that came with your forefathers is now yours. Read.
And to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him.
Verse 24. Genesis 32:24. My mistake. Let's backtrack to what happened within that day. 32:24.
Genesis chapter 32 and verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
Read on.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
This is what being called Israel means, that you have the service of God, that you have power with God and with man. This is superiority that he's calling us, and it is an honor to have that surname. Read on.
Verse 29, and Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen God face to face, and my life was preserved.
Exodus 1:1. So that's what the name Israel means. And that's what we call ourselves today, the Israelites, the sons of Israel, sons and daughters of Israel, or nation of Israel. Exodus 1:1.
Exodus chapter 1 and verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob, Reuben, Simeon.
And in that, he was telling Abraham that your seed was going to be in a strange nation, and I was going to be their God. That's pretty much the verbiage of it. And now it's naming these kids. That's how we know that it's not the other kids that were slaves in Egypt. This is giving us our history on where we've been and what we've come from to get to the point to where we're now, to say that within these covenants and these agreements, these things were supposed to happen to these specific children at these set times in history, as how we can connect ourselves to who we are. We don't need a genealogy test. This is our genealogy test. Read on.
Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali.
Dan is no more. Read.
Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls.
And to specify, when I mean Dan is no more, he's not part of the sons of, he's not part of the covenants. He was taken out of that. He's not within our agreement. He's not the 12 tribes anymore. Verse 5.
Verse 5. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already.
So when it mentions Joseph, that's Ephraim and Manasseh. That makes up the 12th son. Ephraim and Manasseh are split. They were once Joseph within the 12. Now it's Ephraim and Manasseh to clear the breach. Genesis 49:28. So these are the sons of Jacob who are going to be kings and the heritage be passed down to. Genesis 49:28.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 28. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is it, that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Everyone according to his blessing he blessed them.
So now, just like his father did with him and our forefathers before them, he's doing the exact same thing with his sons, that he's passing down everything to them. They're all going to have their inheritance and their lots and their woes in life that we're living today. That's what he gave them. Sirach 44:17. And Genesis 49:28 is another way of how to identify ourselves to this date on where we're located in the world today, how we will behave in the world that we're living in today. Sirach 44:17.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 44 and verse 17. Noah was found perfect and righteous in the time of wrath. He was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore, was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came.
Read.
An everlasting covenant was made with him, that all flesh should perish no more by the flood.
We know that from the covenant of the rainbow. Read.
Abraham.
That's the proof of God's existence and the covenants that he's made. Read.
Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like him, unto him, who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh. And when he was proved, he was found faithful.
So the next covenant that we identify ourselves as Shemitic people is the covenant that he made with Abraham, because we keep this custom today that our sons be circumcised after the 8th day or on the 8th day. Read.
Therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea.
Read.
And from the river unto the utmost part of the land.
Read.
With Isaac did he establish likewise, for Abraham his father's sake, the blessing of all men and the covenant. And he made it to rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing and gave him an heritage, and divided his portion among the 12 tribes did he part them.
This is the history that we've just read through thoroughly, that he made it rest. Once he went through all of our fathers, he made it rest on Jacob. And from Jacob, Jacob passed it down to the 12 sons. And there's no other covenants that's going to be made outside of these people. There's no more if Judah have a son and the covenant is going to stay with him. It's with all the 12 tribes of Israel. It stayed with Jacob's seed. That's this covenant being completed with my service as God is with these people and only these people. It's never going to go anywhere else. These words cannot be broken. That the covenant now stays on Jacob's bad children. Because we have been terrible since our days. And the history proves how we behave. But we're going to get right. We are going to get right. You know why? Because it's written that we're going to get right.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 8.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
This is the same thing Ezra was saying. All this I've spoken. You've divided everybody else. You've chosen your chosen, and you've given people their lands, their languages, their cultures, their blessings, their inheritance on how it pertains to them. But Israel, everything is numbered and according to the needs of Israel, because he made the world for our sakes. No one else's. It's ours. The world is part of our covenant. We're supposed to be the rulers, the kings of these princes that our forefathers made. We're supposed to rule over all of the brethren that were created from Adam down to Noah. They're all our servants. Read.
For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
No one else. Exodus 24 and 3.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said, we will do.
While we were in Egypt, we got messed up. We became slaves. We started living like the Egyptians. We were like the Hamites. So now, when Moses saved us with the mighty hand that the Lord put on him, now he's explaining to us the covenant, the agreement that our forefathers had, and that we have to walk in them now. We got to get cleaned up now to know how to serve our God and not the gods of the world or Egypt. Read.
And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar unto the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel.
Not the other people. Not the people that sojourned with us out of Egypt. Not the ones that wanted to follow us and be servants of us. This agreement, these books, it wasn't given to them. Read.
And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said, we will do, and be obedient.
This is what our grandparents said. We are going to serve God. Whatever he say to do, I'm going to do it. Just like Abraham did what he was supposed to do and Noah did what he was supposed to do, that's supposed to be our mind. And we said we were going to do it. We're coming into the covenant now. We're making the agreement to this will, this testament, this covenant. Read.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
So what we're seeing now is we were making a sacrifice to enter into this covenant. We made a blood agreement with these instruments. He put it on the book, the people, and all the things holy that he had to make this agreement. So by blood, we're in this agreement. No one else. Read. That was all of, where you stop at?
In the 8.
In the 8?
Yes, sir.
Psalms 50 and 5. So we made sacrifices to come into this covenant. Let's get that in Psalms 50 and 5.
Psalms chapter 50 and verse 5. Gather my saints
The
together
children of Israel.
unto me.
And that's what we did. We were gathered after we came out of Egypt in the wilderness to make this covenant. Read.
Those that had made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
So gather the Israelites that made this agreement that they're going to do all that I say, and I'm going to give them the land that I gave them their father, and I'm going to increase them. All the promises that I gave their father, they're going to do this by sacrifice. Deuteronomy 28 and 1. And this is what we're doing in these days, is gathering our people with this Bible to tell them that you made an agreement with God that you weren't going to steal, kill, and do crack. That's the agreement that you made. You made a sacrifice that you were going to do all of these things. And you're going to live and die by it, by any means necessary. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
You're not going to serve Egyptians anymore. You're not going to serve anybody if you listen to what I say. You're going to be the true kings of the earth. You're going to be the supreme rulers, gods of earth, if you keep the commandments. This is what we're agreeing to. This is what Moses was giving the people when he made the sacrifice and sprinkled the blood on everything. Read. Jump to 13. My bad.
Verse 13. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. And thou shalt be only above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them.
This is the same thing that he told Noah. This is the same thing that he told Shem. When he told his brothers that y'all going to be servants to Shem. I'm the God of Shem. This is the same verbiage. It's just being explained in greater detail. Read.
Verse 14. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them.
Verse 15.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So this is your other genealogy test, that When you see yourself on top, that you kings and you rule over everybody and everybody fears the sight of you because I'm your God and I'm behind you, they're gonna know and you're gonna know that we have a covenant together. But when you see yourself at the very bottom of society as a slave and you're cursed and all of these terrible things are happening to you, you're going to know that this is the other half of my covenant, that I am extremely angry at you, and you got to get yourself right to be back on top. So either you get the very top or you get the very bottom of these promises. It's completely your choice. You saw how you were a slave in Egypt. You saw how you were a slave in Babylon, Persia, Assyria, the Greeks, the Romans. You saw all of these things. So you rather serve them and their gods, or you rather serve me and all of my greatness under my promises as supreme rulers and gods of the earth like your fathers did? Or you want to be at the bottom? Either which way, you're going to know that this is my promise, my covenant to you, the good and the bad side of it, and you agreed to it. That if we mess up, hey, we'll be slaves until we get ourselves right. 33:1 in Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 1. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death.
He explained everything to us. He gave us the full understanding of our agreement, our covenant, and our promises, that we'll get the land that our forefathers was promised. And if we do wrong, we'll get violently taken out of that land, sick and destroyed and be oppressed. Read.
And he said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand. And they sat down at thy feet. Every one shall receive of thy words.
Read.
Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob.
That is what Moses did when he brought us to the wilderness. He explained everything thoroughly on this agreement. Everything that we need to do and not do to hold our end of the agreement. And what's going to happen if we didn't. And it's still a part of the covenants. We like to disinclude the curses as part of the covenant, but this is all within it. Same thing happened to Adam. When Adam transgressed, guess what? You got kicked out of the land and you were oppressed. Right. You were made to work, to serve. You lost power and life. It's the exact same agreement from Adam all the way down to Jacob's sons. So now, John 5:46.
John chapter 5 and verse 46. For had ye believed Moses?
This is Christ speaking, by the way. He said, if you believed everything that Moses said when he told you what to do, what not to do, and how it was all going to end, read.
You would have believed me.
You'll believe Christ in the New Testament. It ain't changed. New Testament means new agreement, new covenant, new will. Read.
For he wrote of me.
He was telling y'all I was going to come. He was telling y'all what I was going to do when I come. And after I leave, he told y'all what's going to happen. He said, I'm going to come from Paran. I'm going to come from the land of Idumea. I'm going to destroy them and save you because you didn't keep your agreement and you didn't believe what Moses was telling you. So all these terrible things had to happen to you under the covenant, under the first covenant. And I came, I saw, and now I'm finna conquer. Read.
But if you believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?
So if you don't believe the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, how are you going to believe what's happening in the New? Matthew 1:21. Because Moses told us that Christ was coming. And Christ was going to be a ruler. And Christ was going to set us right. And he was going to stump out a group of people. Read.
Matthew chapter 1 and verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins.
Under this covenant was what to do if you sin. And you did this by sacrifice. So if you're not a nation that were sacrificing unto God to cover your sins, guess what? You're not a part of the agreement of the covenant. You don't have the sins to be saved from. He's talking about Christ is going to come and save his people, the saints, the Israelites, the family that he was born into, to save them from their sins, from the covenant that they broke. Isaiah 9:6.
Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6. For unto us a child is born.
The
Unto
prophets
us,
are saying it too. Read.
unto us a son is given,
Uh-huh.
and the government shall be upon his shoulder.
Uh-huh.
And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
The Prince of Peace. That's where Moses was telling us that Shiloh is going to come. The Prince of Peace is the title. Shiloh is the name. Read on.
Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end.
An everlasting kingdom which we're going to rule when Christ comes back. Uh-huh.
Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom,
He's going to be born a Judite from the line of David. Read.
to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this.
Read on.
The Lord hath sent a word into Jacob, and it hath lighted upon Israel.
He sent it into Jacob. This is this child that's going to be born to save his people from their sins. That's what came for us. Isaiah 47:19. All of this verbiage is the same, from Ezra's to the covenants that he made with our forefather. All the verbiage is the same. The only thing is not saying is Adam, Noah, Abraham. It's telling you Jacob is because Jacob is where we started to fall off. After he gave us our blessings and how we're going to behave in these latter days, this is where it was like, okay, these are the kids that's going to be saved. Read. This is who's going to have to be woken up. Because Noah didn't have to be woken up. He was already doing what he was supposed to do. Abraham didn't have to be woken up. He was doing what he had to do. Jacob was doing what he had to do. It was the 12 sons that had to be shown this because we forgot that we were Jacob's kids. Jacob didn't forget that he was God's chosen. We did. Right. Read. Psalms 147:19.
Psalms chapter 147 and verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob.
He gave the covenants to Jacob. He did this in the wilderness. He did this when we were in the land. He did this when we came out of the land. It's happening today that he is giving us the word. Read.
His statutes
How
and
to keep the law or the covenant. Read.
And his judgments unto Israel.
What's going to happen when you do or don't keep the words of this covenant? Read on.
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
Ham's kids, Japheth's kids, some of the Shemitic kids, he ain't dealt with them. Only this bloodline. Read.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them.
They ain't a part of this. Read.
Praise ye the Lord.
Be happy that you don't have to share the covenant with the people, the very people who have enslaved, belittled you, oppressed you, sold you into slavery. Thank God that they don't have a part in this heritage, that you don't have to share your land, your agreement with them. Right. Amos 3:1. Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Chapter 3 and verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family, which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for your iniquities.
Because I chose you, I treat you differently than everybody else. You get the worst of me in a specific way. I treat you a specific bad way. So you understand that it's coming from me and I need you to change. This is a part of your agreement. No one else is going to get the treatment that I'm going to give you. When I'm not dealing with them, you're going to see how I don't deal with them and how I deal with you. And when I'm dealing with you, it is so specified to you that no one else wants claim to this. Because we've heard the term, everybody want to be a nigga, but not a nigga. Everybody want to be black until you black. Nobody want the punishments that come to us because it's so specific of our covenant and our agreement on how we need to be treated to get right. Isaiah 1:9.
Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 9. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we would have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah.
We so bad at serving God, we should all just be destroyed. But because of the covenant that we have, we're not. And that's what makes it so significant of the agreement that we have with God, because he was going to do away with us in the time of Exodus and start over with Moses. But because of the promise and the agreement and the God that he is, we're not destroyed. We're not utterly overthrown like he would do any other nation, like he did with Sodom and Gomorrah. Read on.
Verse 10. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah.
He's mocking us because that's how we act. We act like the other nations. We do just like they do, which is not of God. We serve how they serve the world. He's mocking us. Isaiah, read on.
To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts. I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. When you come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand to tread my course?
Read.
Bring no more vain oblations of incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, calling of assemblies I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting.
What he said we were doing, it was just we were checking the box. We weren't really keeping the agreement. We were just doing the bare minimum. I was saying, let me go do what I got to do just to satisfy the covenant, the agreement, and go back to doing the same thing. Here it is, you keeping a new moon, but you stealing. The ox that you coming to sacrifice is stolen. You found this from your neighbor and you know who it belongs to and you finna offer it to me. You're not really serving me. You're not really doing what you're supposed to do to uphold your end of the bargain, your deal of the will. You're just doing it because Moses told you you had to. But there's no real love and your sin in your hands is bloody. Read on.
Verse 14. Your new moons and your appointed feast, my soul hated.
Because it's all for show. It's vanity. You're not really keeping the agreement. You're fake. Read.
They are trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash ye, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil.
That's what the Most High wanted. It wasn't the fact that because sacrifice is a part of the agreement that you can just take advantage of it and that's going to make me happy because you fulfilled that part of our agreement. I want you to stop doing what you're doing and really fulfill the agreement and walk how your forefathers walked. That's why I went into the agreement with them, because all the world was acting like you. So I saved your fathers and told them that I would keep my promise and covenant with them because of the respect that I had for them. But y'all are some terrible children. Y'all make me have to do things that I shouldn't have to do to you. Verse 17.
Verse 17. Learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, and plead for the widow.
Take care of your nation, because what I've given you was the blueprint to success. But you do what you want to do and you're failing. And not only are you failing, I'm going to make it worse. He's going to bring in the curses. Like you didn't believe Moses when he said you was going to eat your children? You didn't believe Moses when he says that you're just going to get sick? Here it is, you watching Moab eat a whole live frog, and you about to lose your leg from eating cooked pork. He's not treating them like he treats us. He don't deal with them like he treats us. Matthew 5:16. How he eat a live, what is it called? He's not even eating calamari. He's eating squid. It came fresh out of the water. He's eating squid, and you have hypertension and heart disease. What's his punishment? Don't you see that there's a different agreement that he has with us and them? How is it that he can sell drugs, has a business for it, and you get stopped in a traffic stop, and you get the 3-strike rule? Meanwhile, he has a whole country, and he's prospering. Read.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
This is the name Israel that you were given, that when they see you, they supposed to see me. They're supposed to fear you before they even fear me, because I'm your fear. I'm your shield. I'm your strength. Because they see how you act, they say that must be I don't want to actually deal with the God that's their God, because these kids right here, they got it on lock. But that ain't how we are. You are supposed to be the God example of the God in heaven by the covenant that you are given. Read on.
Think not that I am come to destroy the law.
If you believe Moses, you'll believe me. Christ said, don't think that I destroyed the covenant, the law, the agreement. Read.
Or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
I have a specific task that I have to come and do and fulfill, and leave you to decide whether you want to be a part of this covenant or not. Read.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law.
Listen, that rainbow is still there. So the earth isn't going to be flooded or destroyed in a way, because that covenant is going to be held. So he didn't come to destroy anything. He came to fulfill what was written of him, his duties to do for us. Lo, I come in the volume of the book to do thy will. That's what he's telling us. So whatever's written in his book, you still have to do this covenant. There's no skipping out on it. Christ had to do it. You have to do it. Read.
Till all be fulfilled.
Till everything is finished in this book that he gave us. Read.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least commandments.
If you're not keeping the milk of the Bible, then what?
And shall teach men to do so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
You're going to be cut off like Dan. You're going to be killed. You're not going to be a part of the promises anymore. The nation is going to be saved, but you, no, you're cut off. Your agreement with hell is fulfilled. You can stay there, die there, and live in death. Read.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
You're going to be a part of the covenant. From there, Hebrews chapter 8 and 7.
Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 7. For if that the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
So the fault in the first one was what we read in Isaiah. We were not keeping the laws. We were just doing the ordinances of that covenant. If sacrifice says do this, we did it. We burned the incense, we went to the temples, but we were not holding the full-fledged part of this agreement of actually not sinning. It's like, okay, I messed up. Let me go fix it, get right with God, and then go back and do the same thing and put it on wash and repeat. Read.
Verse 8. For finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah.
So a new covenant was in the process. And Isaiah was explaining the new covenant, that a child has to be born, and it follows up in Matthew's that he's going to save these people from breaking their covenant. Read.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers.
Oh, it ain't going to be with bulls and goats. It's going to be much harder. You're going to be the sacrifice. You're going to be the living sacrifice. Read.
in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt.
We ain't going to do it like that. It's not going to be with blood and goats. We're not going to seal it like that. Read.
Because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord.
I didn't disannul my agreement, my covenant with them. I just added clauses to it to keep them within the covenant because they would break it. So without that clause or the curses of the covenant, it would have been a breach in this agreement between us and God. So to save us from us, Christ had to come. Read.
For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people.
So what had to happen is us keeping these laws had to be driven into our conscience to make us hate to miss out on the promises that we're going to get, to make us loathe the world that we live in and all the ways that it's taught us to hate our God, to hate ourselves. It's going to be seared in our conscience to not even think about needing a bull or a goat or an incense to serve God, that it's going to be in our very actions and soul that we will not disobey this agreement, this covenant, that we never ever want to be in a place to sin. We were going to fear falling out with God. That's what he means by I'm going to put my laws in their minds and write them in their hearts. We're going to hate not being a part of this covenant. Read.
Verse 11. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, and from the least to the greatest.
There's not going to be any more prophets, saints sent to put us back on track. We're not going to have to go back through captivity. Everybody is going to know God exactly as it's supposed to be. We're going to be beyond these meditate day in and day out, study 4 chapters. We're going to be beyond that. You're going to know better. Read.
For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sin, and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith, a new covenant he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
Read.
Chapter 9, verse 1.
Oh, my bad. I had you. I was already in chapter 9. Go to chapter 9 and 11.
Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 11. But Christ, being come an high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building.
So what we're seeing in chapter 9 is the new covenant that was made, which is within Christ. Read.
Neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us.
So his walk through this life showed us that it's possible to be perfect. Noah did it. He was a just and perfect man. Abraham did it. He was a just and perfect man. And so on and so forth. So he had to come and show us that it can be done. We can do it. He gave us hope and faith that we can keep this agreement. So with him being a lamb without spot or blemish or not even doing any sin, this is the perfect sacrifice for us. This is the greatest covenant that we could have. It isn't something born of the earth. Read.
Verse 13. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of an heifer sprinkled the unclean, sanctify it to purifying of the flesh.
Because we believed it. We believed that us sacrificing got us right. But it's saying what much more than the blood of the Messiah. Read.
How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God.
So it's no more sacrifice anymore for us because we wasn't doing it right anyway. So now that extra challenge is on us. Now we're going to be better. Read.
Verse 15. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgression that were under the first testament, that they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also be of necessity to be the death of the testator.
So what we've seen in the history, what happened? Noah died. Before he died, he passed it to Shem. Before Shem died, he passed it on to his son. And then we get down to Eber, to Abraham, and we've seen in history that each time before our forefather died, they passed down this inheritance. The same thing with Christ. Read.
For a testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all whilst the testator liveth.
So we didn't enter into this new covenant or agreement until after Christ died and lived again. When he was not born again. What is it called? When he resurrected. Read.
Whereupon, neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the testament which God hath enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry.
Read.
And almost all things are by the law purged with blood.
Read.
And without shedding of blood is no remission.
So what it's telling us is that by blood we came into the old covenant, and by blood we're coming into the New Testament, and this blood is now Christ. Read.
It was therefore necessary that the patterns of the things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are figures of the true, but into the heavens itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us.
Read.
Nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with the blood of others. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself.
So Christ had to do this once. The priests had to do this every year for themselves and the people. This is the problem with the old covenant as to why the new one is established, because Christ only had to do it once. Who much better than a perfect man, the Messiah? 10 and 10.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 10. By the which we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all.
Matthew chapter 27 and 1. Almost done. Almost done.
Matthew chapter 27 and verse 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor.
Read.
Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood.
Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus.
Read on.
The governor answered and said unto them, Whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas.
So the people, they didn't want Christ. They wanted Barabbas. An innocent man gets to stay in prison while they release a man that's guilty. Read.
Pilate said unto them, What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called Christ? They all said unto him, Let him be crucified.
This is our people, by the way. We want to do away with Christ. Don't. He's been a tyrant to us. He's changing things. He's going against the government. He's blaspheming God. This is what we're saying about our own Messiah. Read.
And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but the rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it.
Pilate is an Edomite, and he's saying that my hands are clean from this blood, meaning he has no part in this promise. The blood that's about to be shed, he doesn't have a part in it. Read.
Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and our children.
What it's saying, the reason why we read all of that from Exodus to Hebrews, this is the exact same thing that Moses did. He put the blood on the people and all the things that pertain to the covenant. The same thing is what's happening with Christ in this when he was crucified, that his blood was going to be on us. Same way Moses sprinkled it on us. Acts 3 and 8, almost done. Couple more scriptures. Acts 3 and verse 18.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 18. But those things which God before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Christ should suffer, he hath so fulfilled.
That was the fulfilling of us getting into the new covenant on what we're living today. Had he not died, we wouldn't have this new covenant. We would still be trying to sacrifice at some temple that we don't even have, that we can't even get to. Read.
Verse 19. Repent ye therefore and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out when the time of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord.
When Christ will come, just like Moses told us. Read.
And he shall send Jesus Christ, which before was preached unto you.
Read.
Whom the heaven must receive until the time of restitution of all things, which God hath spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began.
So since the beginning, this New Testament, a new covenant, was always supposed to be meant for the Israelites, for the sons of Jacob. And Christ was going to be the one to oversee and commit the New Testament for us to live and to be saved forever. So, Lord's will, we understand what the covenant is, who it pertains to, and all the covenants that was made in this class. And if I missed anything, feel free in the comments to put a scripture up. Show me a covenant that was made with the other nations that maybe we just overlooked, if it's for them. So with that, I'm going to say shalom, Most High in Christ bless, study, pray, apply, and subscribe to all things IUIC OKC. Shalom.